Hello there. I'm sure by now you're all quite aware of the very sad and tragic passing of the far too young Julian Sands very recently. And I normally do a sort of tribute video to actors and actresses, directors, if I have the time within my schedule, and I always wish I'd do to them. But in this instance I thought I was going to do something a little more. Julian Sands was a fantastic actor who was in many things that I genuinely enjoyed, and rather than list off all of his creations and all of his artistry and things about his personal life and his biography, which I'm sure plenty of people on YouTube have done by now, which is great, probably even before he passed, as he was a fairly notable actor. He appeared in many different things, such as a memorable performance in Arachnophobia. He also appeared briefly in Stargate as a character I rather liked. But Julian Sands sadly missed. The first thing I knew him in is what we're going to talk about today in this Nerd Talks podcast, and that is the 1989 movie Warlock. It starred Laurie Singer, Richard E. Grant, as well as Julian Sands as the titular Warlock. Quick interjection here, just to talk about mine and my wife's new company, alternativeworld.co.uk. It is linked in the description below. If you want to support me or my wife's endeavour to try to build our own company, I know that's something that 99.9% of you don't give a toss about, and feel free to skip this bit. It's not going to be very long and we'll get back to the video, whatever it is the video is you're watching. But if you do feel it's something you would be interested in, we are designing our own line of clothing. These are custom designed images, slogans and other things on t-shirts, hoodies and a variety of other items. The shop is still growing. It doesn't have a massive selection on right now, I'm not going to lie, but it is growing and we are getting more stock in all the time and expanding the range constantly, and we hope to eventually have this as a physical store at some point in the future. If that's something that you might be interested in, because hopefully I remember to put at least some of the images of the things that we are selling on the screen currently, check out the link in the description box below, or go to alternativeworld.co.uk for a variety of alternative fashion and other items that we are currently selling, many of which are of our own original designs, as well as some movie related trivia items such as slogan t-shirts, which have what I think are fairly vague references, so try and guess them if they're all on there by now when you go there. That's alternativeworld.co.uk. And now back to the video. Warlock was the first thing, as I said, I ever saw Julian Sands in, that I can recall seeing him in, should I say. Julian Sands was a very good actor who was noted for being able to play many different roles. He played villains, he played good guys, and in this he played the villain, and he played a particularly despicable villain. He wanted to be the vessel of the devil. He kills children, he kills the wife of Richard E. Grant's character. He is darkness personified. He is interested in the uncreation itself, uttering God's name backwards. But he wants the grand grimoire. He time travels. He does all kinds of things. For him, it is always about the pain. It is always about the fear. For example, with Laurie Singer, to curse her. Rather than simply kill her, he knows for her it would be far worse to curse her to age a decade in a day. So every day she will get 10 years older until eventually she withers and dies. Now she starts off in her 20s, and this means that within a week she's going to be dead. She's going to be dust thanks to this curse. So she teams up with another man from the past, Richard E. Grant. Now I don't want to do too many spoilers for the movie. I always try to avoid that. So a full movie breakdown in this one is not what it's about. Mostly this is just, I want to discuss something that I genuinely have a passion for, and that is horror movies. It's something I want to discuss because I don't want to make this too sad, this video, and I don't want to also make it a spoiler-filled video about a film that is sometimes a little obscure and people won't have seen. So I encourage you to watch films and make your own opinion, but we will have some spoilers in this episode. I'm also going to do a trailer breakdown where we're going to watch a bit of the trailer and see just how awesome this film is. In brief, this film starts off in the past. The Warlock's already been captured, he's about to be executed, the devil saves him, and in the whisking him off to the future, Richard E. Grant is also carried with him in his wake. He arrives, he kills someone immediately, and he starts performing spells like the skinning of a child in order to gain power from their skin. He consumes it, boils it down, drinks it so that he can gain super speed. he basically grows stronger and stronger, kills Medium, forcing her to make him talk to Zamiel, otherwise known as the Devil. He basically just runs rampage. He seems to acclimatise, I should point out, much better to the 20th century than Richard E. Grant's character. And yeah, there's nothing good in that, but it's just something I observe. He seems to do a little better, but that's because he's there with a purpose that's not really interested in interacting with the locals. He doesn't care about phones, cars, airplanes, the early internet. Doesn't care about any of that. He just cares about the Grand Grimoire, finding out God's names, uttering it backwards, causing the uncreation, and doing the work of the devil, which is what he's really there to do. He's basically, without being literally the Antichrist, he's basically the Antichrist living on Earth, but he's phenomenally powerful and empowered by the devil as well, as not to mention all the powers that he gains. Bear in mind, a warlock gains power from doing such things. It gains power from spells and power from things. That's how warlocks work. That's how they derive their power. It's basically the difference between the different magical creatures. Warlocks are that. And this film is well worth a portion of your time, I should point out. That if you want not to turn your brain off, because this is not a brainless movie, it's a well thought out, well acted. You've got thespians like Richard E. Grant in this thing. It is at the height of his career. It is a magnificently made film, and again, Julian Sands, his standout performance in this film as the villain enamored me with him from that day going forward. Every time I saw Julian Sands in a film, in any film, I got a little excited. When I was younger, there were various different actors and actresses who I often would gravitate towards. It was almost a given, for example, in my generation, that if Arnold Schwarzenegger released a film, you watched it. Pretty much, it was a guarantee. To a lesser degree, Sylvester Stallone, and so on and so forth. For me, being a massive movie student, I was a film student for many years. I've briefly worked in the industry. For me, I would latch onto actors like this and I go, now there's an actor I like. The performance, the way they move, the way they speak, chef's kiss. They were just so good, and I would just enjoy them in every way, shape or form. I would encounter them in any movie. And Warlock, as I said, was the first film I encountered Julian Sands in, and from then on he was always a highlight of anything I encountered him in. And it was sad to hear about his passing. And I live now at a time in my own life where I've personally reached an age where a lot of the childhood heroes I had, I'm starting to realize, they're getting old. They're getting on. There's a whole generation of people coming up behind me. I know other film students, other people that still work in the industry, and other people that wish to. And they idolize people whose names I don't always know. And I've even said to some of them, say, one day in 20 years, you'll be doing a video like this. You'll be saying that actor who I really loved when I was 20. Oh my God, they've passed. And it dawns on you just how fragile and short life can be. You think of these people because you see Julian Sands in The Warlock. Magnificent film, fantastic performance. He is forever 30, or roughly 30 when he made it. He is forever that age in that film. He'll never grow old. For centuries, just like the movie, from the 1600s through to the 1900s, he will be that age, and for those watching it, he'll always be that age. And it's so sad. It's sad when anyone passes, but obviously as a person growing up, we all have our idols. We all have people who we like and respect, and we watch and inspire us. For me, a lot of that, as you may know from this channel broadly, was Star Trek. I learned a lot of my morality from Star Trek. But I learned a lot of, when it comes to movies, horror. Horror was always a leading genre for me because, like science fiction, it has a story to tell. It has a message and symbolism hidden within it that's not always appreciated, at least not fully. That is something I've always loved about the genre, and about science fiction. And actors like Julian Sands took me to those places, showed me those lessons, taught me that enjoyment, and infinitely rewatchable films like Warlock. Endless years of entertainment and joy I have derived from that film. And sadly, when I learned of his passing, I decided not only was I going to make this video, but I also decided I was going to rewatch Warlock. And I've actually discovered I've only got it on VHS. I don't actually have a DVD copy of it. And I thought, oh, hell with it, I'll watch it on streaming. Nowhere. Nothing I can find. If you know, put it in the comments below, because I really want to rewatch the film. And I mean, I could just buy the DVD, I suppose, but all the same, I couldn't find it. The sequels, 2 and 3, they're on there. But Warlock, I mean, why? Netflix do this. So Netflix, listen, right? Don't put one film in a series on. Put all of them on. They do this with Tremors, for God's sake. You can get Tremors 1, Tremors 2, and Tremors Bleeding 5 on your bloody streaming service. Did you miss? Can you not count? Anyway. Getting sidetracked. Right then, so this is the trailer for Warlock 1989. And for those of you that are unaware of this, which is every single one of you, this is about the 4th time I've had to do this and sit through this trailer. So the commentary, and yeah, 4th time. Reason being, this microphone doesn't work. These are my old gaming headphones, and apparently the microphone's really, really awful. I've never really widely used them for recording before, so, you know, terrible. That said, let's get into this. The trailer. Obviously, all rights which is going to get copyright slammed.
In a time of fear and suspicion,
which is not entirely inaccurate for that time period.
Before man and God. His coming was
His coming was foretold by who? Well, I do like this opening bit of the movie and the opening bit of the trailer. It establishes where the Warlock is from. It establishes that people in this time period were kind of used to fighting supernatural creatures, but by the 1980s humanity's becoming a bit jaded and they actually need this dude to come with him because no one's really got the skills anymore. This, of course, is Richard E. Grant. The other part we learn is that his wife Mary was killed by the Warlock. We don't learn that in the trailer, you learn that in the movie, and it was basically for no other reason than for the Warlock shits and giggles to just piss this guy off.
Told.
The other part that I don't understand, you see him time jump here, and I didn't know this as a kid and I don't know this as an adult, but was it God's plan for him to move, or was it an accident, a byproduct of the devil's spell to drag him to the future? Was that what happened? Was it an accident? It was, I don't know. I was always confused. I always assumed that it was actually God that plucked him and threw him into the future, but you never know. Nice blood moon there.
Now he is
here. And
You know
he arrives.
the
If the bit you don't know is he arrives and he meets Laurie Singer's character. They find him unconscious. Her roommate takes a shine to him, and the Warlock plays on that and ultimately kills her roommate by biting his tongue out. It's really gross and really unnecessarily cruel, but that's kind of what the Warlock does. Be Warlocked. She is be Warlocked.
He has the face of
Which
an
is
angel,
why he was so well cast.
the charm of the devil.
And a very, very charming man he was. It was one of the things he's so well cast in this. He plays such a good villain. He was a massively underrated actor. He was truly brilliant in this film. And in every film.
Absolute.
And the good guy's crazy. What a shock.
Of a god.
Those powers he has to kind of knock people around. It's like a really crap force power. When I was a kid, and I used to make believe, because I used to be X-Men, here's my little aside, I used to like X-Men, I still do, I'm a big Marvel fan, and read the comic books, read the X-Men comics. When me and my friends, or me on my own, used to pretend to be a mutant, when I was doing the whole thing with my hands, and I'd be imagining stuff, like shooting out of my hands at them, I was actually imagining that, or sometimes the powers that Willow had, from when she went dark in Buffy, the purple, but a lot of the time it was this. And I know it's not the best visual effects. It's 1980s. It's not up to today's standard. It's still good. It's definitely good for the time period. And if you can get past that, it's still good. But that was what I used to imagine back when I was in my childhood years of my 20s and early 30s and now. Yeah.
Satan also has
Which is
one
not
side.
clear in the film, by the way, if that is actually meant to what he... The other bit. I know the... It's like, I know thy name, he's there shouting it. All I can... Every time I see that, I just think, just say his name then. You spend more time saying you know his name than actually saying his name. And you can imagine he gets defeated, goes to hell, and the devil's like, dude, you had one job. Do you know how much... I mean, strings I pulled, how much cosmic power I had to pull to throw you into the future, and you failed. Imagine the torture in hell he's going to get. Plus, you know, bad person going to hell. Kills people and stuff. Oh, and to correct myself from earlier, I made a slight mistake in this video. I said that he killed the little child to take their skin and distill it and boil it down and consume it in order to gain the power of super speed. It was actually to gain the power of flight. I was slightly wrong there. I remembered that incorrectly. So, sorry.
Are you the first to have laid eyes upon the new Messiah?
Sure, new Messiah.
Now, an enemy from his past.
Who appointed you?
I think that was like the judges back
And a
in
girl from the prison.
back in his time. See, Ginger.
Next time.
Mistake. Ginger. My wife's Ginger. You don't piss off a Ginger. That was the mistake the Warlock made. Tragedy. And my wife's a witch. Hopefully that means she'd protect me from the Warlock, but I suspect she'd sacrifice me to it. I think that's what all the little effigies of me are, with the pins and the melted wax on them, are all about. I mean, that could just be her thing, you know, but there's a whole altar. It's kind of cool. She does her thing.
He's gonna kill me.
I'll not let him harm you.
Cursed her.
Are the
lying
only
there.
hope for the future.
Guess Holy Ground's not a great...
Is the terrifying
film.
adventure
When I was
that could set
younger
the
as well and
world
watched this film, I was always trying to read God's name off the book, because I didn't actually realise in the later years there's a bit more education. I know that actually if you read some of the Old Testaments and, you know, the Judeo-Christian texts, you actually can find God's name. It's not exactly a big secret.
on fire. Warlock.
Was coming to a cinema near you in 1989. I hope you didn't miss it. Excellent film. Good trailer as well, although there are a few spoilers in there, like any trailer. A lot of trailers annoyingly do that. You got obviously almost a progression of the movie going on in that trailer, but that's just the way it is sometimes. Netflix, don't just put one film in a series on. It's actually not Netflix that have done this. I'm just picking on Netflix because I can, allegedly. It's actually on Amazon. You can get Warlock 2 and Warlock 3 on Amazon, but you can't get Warlock. It's not even something you can pay for. It's just not there. Calm. I will have to just buy it on DVD. However, it is well worth your time. It's well worth a watch. It's a great film, and it's infinitely enjoyable. And it wouldn't be that way if it wasn't for the magnificent performances of the entire cast, and the great direction, and the great script, and the great story. Yes, all the elements have to come together, but if one of them is wrong, if we didn't have Julian Sands' Warlock, if he wasn't there, who would we have got? I mean, I'm not saying there's no other actor could have taken that role, but forever that would be that role. In the later films, Bruce Payne takes over, and I'm nothing against Bruce Payne. He's a perfectly fine actor, but he does tend to turn up in a lot of hammy sequels and a lot of hammy movies. And his sequel in the Warlock's films is actually one of them. And Julian Sands, however, he brought an extra dimension. A calm, cold, collected callousness to his role. He never raises his voice. He is a gorgeous looking man. He is charming, charismatic, attractive, and you just don't see it coming, and it's so well done. Such a good film. I implore you to go and watch it. Just, even if it's just for enjoyment, forgetting that if you knew or didn't know Julian Sands as an actor, I implore you to go and watch this film. It is absolutely brilliant. It is a fantastic film. It is an 80s gem that I think is a little bit lost to time now, and I think it deserves to have a bit of a resurrection in the name of Julian Sands, if nothing else. So in that regard, I have no hesitation but to mark this film in my infinitely awesome scoring system, which it clearly is, well thought out, not arbitrary at all and depending on my mood, but in this instance 6 out of 6. I would nerdgasm all over this movie forever. I have never got tired of it. It is a film that I can have. It's not a guilty pleasure. This is a film I can rewatch because I enjoy it. It is a film that I can go back and watch because it's an enjoyable film. Because it is a fun film. Because it is dark. It has comedic moments. It has a protagonist and an antagonist that are both very likeable and good. It has strong characters. It's better than it maybe deserves to be, considering what's probably not a great budget, but it's still a fantastic film and well worth a watch. 6 out of 6, absolutely.